The Auburn Tigers win the NIT. This is something we have talked about on this show for a while. And I will say on the front end, I will admit that I thought it was a horrible look for Auburn to even play in this tournament. But they did, and they won. And they got the job done. We could talk about the opponents here in a moment. But first, what do you make of this run? Winning 3 games at home, winning 2 games in Indy, and coming away with the championship.
Yeah, I think it was huge for Auburn, honestly. I know we've made all the jokes that we can about being in the NIT, which obviously is not ideal. But, winning this season on, was it a 4 wins?
Yeah, 5 straight, yeah.
5 straight wins, and to get this national title, which I don't think they really care about getting the NIT title, to be honest. But those wins are huge for this team and for Stephen Pearl to build up his confidence and go into next season feeling a little better about yourself.
Yeah, this season, Patrick, was going to end around St. Patty's Day. It was about when the season was going to end. They accept the NIT, they play South Alabama, they go on this run. To be able to get, almost a month of extra basketball has to be pretty big for Coach Pearl.
Yeah, and I think this was more so a win for Stephen Pearl than it actually was for this Auburn team, because if the last thing the fan base saw from Stephen Pearl was an implosion down the stretch when you basically all but locked up an NCAA tournament bid, I think that would have left a pretty sour taste in everyone's mouth heading into next season. But the fact that he was like, okay, this team deserves more basketball. He was obviously going to advocate for his team to be in the NCAA tournament like every coach should. But for him to be like, okay, we have an invite here to the NIT. Again, it's not the NCAA tournament, but it's still a postseason tournament. Let's go ahead and take this and make the most of it. And I think this got him some valuable experience in coaching it. Again, I'm going to put this in air quotes, in a situation that matters, because nobody really cares about the NIT, but this team did care about the NIT. So this was a pressure situation for Stephen Pearl with something on the line here, an NIT title. And I know that they struggled with Tulsa in the game, but for them to still come out with a win, which, by the way, this game was basically a microcosm of this whole season. And, I mean, he even admitted it as well. But for him to be able to get that experience in a meaningful situation, I think that's huge heading into next year with what'll, I assume, to be a pretty new team.
Right. And honestly, I wanted to start with the big picture and then go to the small, because like you said, we would not be breaking this game down had it not been the Auburn Tigers getting in a team that was in the Final Four last year. But my goodness, they almost threw this thing away.
I know.
We were talking about this in our sports office not long ago, is the fact that this could have been This ends off in a great story with the win in overtime.
Yeah.
This could have been highly embarrassing.
Yeah, and I think I told you guys this morning, I was on my way home. I was on a plane, and I had the game turned on in my first plane, and they were up by 20, I think, going into the half. So by the time I got on my second plane, I wasn't even thinking about turning on the game. And then I get a notification on my phone that they're going to overtime.
Right.
So I'm like, wild for the Auburn Tigers to be up by that much. Actually, it isn't wild. It's exactly what you would expect for them to be up by that much. It feels like they have the game on lock and they're going to win, but then the second half, it falls apart.
Yeah, Tulsa goes on a 22-2 run. Auburn hits a 3 late, sends it to overtime, and then they take care of business in the extra session. Kevin Overton was really big in this one, 26 points for him, 7 of 13 from the floor. This could be, I'm not sure, what the roster will look like next year, but this could be something that I think that Stephen Pearl builds on going into next season.
For sure, and I think this was huge for Kevin. He was one of those guys that I had expected to step up earlier in the season. I feel like he was one everyone was kind of waiting to see him make a big run and make a big impact, which he did on a few games, but nothing to this extent. I mean, he shot the three-pointer that sent them into overtime with 2 seconds left.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a big-time play for Kevin Overton. So, good for him to have a game like this.
Yeah, Stephen Pearl got the chance to cut down the nets there in Indianapolis. Not the same nets he wanted to cut down, because he wanted to cut down the ones
they
tonight.
even rolled tumors.
Yeah.
over there in Auburn.
We'll discuss if that is a good look or a bad look. A win's a win, though, here, Stephen Pearl.
Yeah, I mean, it's a group that, was put through a tremendous amount of adversity. And, I can't say it enough. With Coach retiring, the schedule we put in front of them, only having 1 returner, 9 underclassmen, 10 new guys. I want the Auburn family to remember this group for their resilience and their toughness and their ability to stay together through some some difficult stretches. And, it's a group that really appreciated what the Auburn family gave to them and the support that they gave. And, I think they just kind of wanted to do the fan base proud and the university proud, and I feel like they did that, over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, second row, did you have a question?
It probably wasn't until the first half of the Seattle game, the second game we played. In the second half of the first game, KO just hit 7 threes and kind of went unconscious, and he was tremendous and obviously allowed us to win that game. When I saw how we came out and guarded in the first half of the Seattle game, I knew that our guys were locked in and were playing for something at that point, and I thought they carried that really well through the next 4 games. And we beat 5 good teams, and we beat 5 good teams without our starting center. I mean, that's significant. We had a bunch of guards out there for the last 5 games, and we beat all 5 teams. So. Our guys just, were locked in. But I thought that Seattle game is where they kind of turned the corner and flipped the switch.
Was down to South Alabama by double digits. They beat the Jags. They beat Seattle. They beat Nevada. They beat Iowa State, and then they knock off Tulsa. If you look at the regular season schedule, this is not, a murderer's row of opponents. That said, there is a tournament championship. Do you hang a banner for the NIT? If you're the athletics director or the head of the Auburn basketball program, are you hanging a banner?
I don't think so.
No banner.
I don't think so.
No banner.
I mean, what do you? I think you recognize it. Maybe put it on the wall or something.
Yeah.
But a banner?
It was going to go next to the Final Four banner from last year.
Yeah. Let's keep in mind that if they do, it's going to go right next to the Final Four banner from last year.
Is that would a team do that?
I mean, it depends on who you are. Tulsa won.
I'm pretty
They're
sure.
hanging a banner.
I'm pretty sure Chattanooga hung one last year.
Yeah.
Like that's one where it's
right,
like, okay,
right,
it's
but
acceptable.
they've never been to a Final Four, like a real Final Four.
Yeah, they did have that one good year last year, or a few years ago.
Patrick, if you're the leader of Auburn basketball, you hanging a banner?
No, because it goes back to my whole conversation about would I rather have $5 or an NIT championship. I would rather have $5. I literally would not care. The only semi-championship for something that's not an NCAA tournament that I care about is a college basketball crown, because you actually get NIL money, which my team did win, so there might be some reason why I actually care about that. We'll talk about that game later because there's an SEC tie-in, but there's no way I'm hanging a banner for the NIT.
No,
I'm
what
do you get?
I'm right there with you. No NIT banners, no NBA in-season tournament banners. To me, it's like you put the trophy up in a trophy case, you say yay. And
okay, do you get bragging rights over Alabama because you actually made it to Indianapolis, but you made it for the wrong reason?
Right.
Exactly. I just don't understand.
Yeah. And then does this do anything for Auburn going into next season? This will be the last thing we talk about, because there was a time that your NIT tournament champion, if you just look through the history of the NIT, it's like, oh, the NIT tournament champion the next year ends up making the Sweet 16 like 80% of the time. I forgot the actual figures, but it was a nice run. But now in the transfer portal NIL era, do you think that this has any kind of runway going into 26-27?
I think it does, just for the simple fact of Stephen Pearl has more confidence. He's ending the season with 5 wins under his belt, and I just feel like he feels better about himself. He feels better about the place that the program is in. He's gotten a good grip of what the team looks like and who maybe he wants to keep, who he's going to look for in the transfer portal. I think in terms of that, it was a good move, and it's solid for this Auburn basketball team. Yeah,
they were one of the first teams out of the big dance. They win the NIT. Ostensibly, number 69 in the country? Congratulations to the Auburn Tigers for the NIT Tournament Championship.